that was fun excitement this evening. Okay, we will call to order the March 5th, 2025 Council of Governments meeting, and it is 5:36. So with that, if you could please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. There are multiple consent agenda items on here. Is there any board member that wishes to pull a consent agenda item? Seeing none? Okay, I'll move it to the public. Is there any public member that has a comment on consent? Seeing none online, we'll move it back to the board. Is there a motion to approve consent agenda?
I move the consent.
Second.
Moved by Gay, second by Tim. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, what is that, 601? We'll move on to the regular agenda. First up is public comment. Is there any public comment for any items not on the agenda? Seeing none in the room, none online, we'll move on to item number 5, which is Caltrans report. And Nagoya is here. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. I'm Gregoria Ponce. I'm the Acting Planning Deputy for District 10, and I just have a few items. I'll first open with the Regional Planning Items Overall Work Program. We understand that the COG is undertaking its Regional Transportation Plan updates. We look forward to working with the COG on that. Please let us know how we can support Calaveras in that effort. Additionally, for reimbursements and invoices, Q2 invoicing has been processed and paid. Previously, there was a concern brought forward regarding CT flashing speed signs along State Route 4 approaching Murphy's. The concern was the flashing speed signs were too far from the school and the sidewalk and blocks a new wayfinder monument. Our maintenance team has been out there and we're developing some plans to address that in terms of spacing and location. So I'll have more on that as that moves forward. On a wider scale, the California Transportation Commission this past January allocated approximately $1 billion for projects aimed at solving mobility challenges. This includes clean energy, bike lanes, and pedestrian projects aimed at connecting mobility and aiding Californians' continued effort to make the highway system more resilient to extreme weather events and interconnectivity. These allocations made will add to the electric charging infrastructure, increase mobility options for people who walk and bicycle, and enhance our goals to improve safety and economic equity for all users. I do have a few strategic investment notices coming from the Department of Energy for the Vehicle Technology Program, call for applications. This program supports innovation to reduce energy and cost needs to move goods and people across the U.S. It also increases safety and reliability of batteries, more convenient travel options, increased vehicle and system efficiencies. There's approximately $88 million available. Closing deadline is June 18th, and that is through the Department of Energy. U.S. Department of Transportation, California Energy Commission, Rural Vehicle Electric Charging 2.0, recently released its call for applications for approximately $10 million in funding. The deadline is May 23rd, and this program invests in projects that support and install light to medium duty electric vehicle charging infrastructure. Other than that, I have no other items if anyone has any questions for me.
Any questions? Okay.
The 10 million for electric charging stations, is that for the entire state, 10 million?
That's for the program itself.
Okay. So, but the program itself encompasses all of the state, correct? Or Maybe
It's
I'm missing,
the Department of Energy program for the 10 million, I believe. Is that what you're asking? Let me pull that up. Want to be sure.
I was,
The rural electric vehicle, that's, it's very specific to rural communities, so they're
rural,
specific.
okay, all right. I missed the rural part of it. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
There's still a number of counties that be buying for that 10 million, parts of that 10 million.
Correct.
Thank you.
Caroline.
Thank you.
So this was on the report. I don't know if you were familiar, if you've seen this one that we got,
Oh, the letter?
the letter.
Okay.
So it's the very last item. It's a bullet item, and I'm sure Melissa probably knows the answer to this, but it's the Cal SR 488 improvement. I couldn't figure out where that was on on Highway 4.
I can certainly take a look at that and get back to you.
That would be great because there's a lot of Highway 4, so I don't know where that was at.
Okay.
Are there any other board questions? Okay. I think we're good.
Thank you.
And yeah, no, thank you for being here tonight. There are no public questions, right? You guys are good? Okay.
I would think so, but it could be Murphy's. I don't know. It's Murphy's. Murphy's.
Okay. So we got that.
It's out of the call plan, the complete streets. Can you put your mic on, please?
Mike.
Sorry, it's from the COG plan, the Murphy's Complete Streets. Caltrans picked up a project out of that.
Is that the
It's-
Hawk?
No, it's
Okay.
right there by the fire station, right
Yeah.
there on that corner where you're going to go the back way to the old school in Murphy's.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you, Caltrans. Okay, we'll move on to city and county. Oh, you got what? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, which is city and county reports, and we have the new city administrator here today. Hi, Pamela.
Hi, thank you very much for having me. Let's see. So, thank you very much for having me, esteemed board members. We have 3 projects that are outlined here on 6A. The first one being the Angels Creek Bike and Pedestrian Network. The status on that project was we have spoken with our engineering firm, Dewberry, and we still need tax orders, which was approved by City Council in February 2025 meeting, so that we can go ahead and proceed. The project, as of now, is scheduled to be finished in 4 years down the road, in 2028. And all the data that's reflected right now on the spreadsheet is correct. The second project being the collector road striping and sign replacement. The project is complete and 100% of the funds has already been spent. Last but not the least, the routine maintenance project, the Carissa funds. Right now, the status on the information showed or outlined on the spreadsheet is correct. The city plans to use the funds for the road vegetation management program that we have. The city plans to hire 4 part-time employees to complete the work over summer of 2025. And with that, do you have any questions?
Are there any questions from the board members? I have one question. So for on Angels Creek, that 4 years of completion, is that the entire trail or is that only the segment from Tryon Park to downtown?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Do you know
that?
what length do you know if you guys are extending past, what
Yeah.
was it, Tryon Park?
Staff can, I can go ahead and research on that one and staff
Okay,
will
yeah,
get.
we'll bring it back.
return to the board.
Okay,
We'll bring it back.
because I think the whole thing was gonna go down to the property that the city bought, some years back, to the 12 acres off of Finnegan. So I didn't know if it was the whole thing or partial.
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll have to bring that item back.
Okay. Just
Thank you.
curious. Which is fine. I just was
Right.
Yep.
excited to see it going.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other board members that have questions? Good? Okay. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, next we got county update. Micah? Has everyone met Micah yet? Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't remember because we were, that's right, you weren't here, that's why I got confused. Okay.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not, well,
I was thinking Tim because I had a meeting with Tim and I forgot he wasn't at the last board meeting, so it threw me off. Sorry, Micah.
No, that's quite all right. Nice to meet you. Yeah, so just a short update from the county. We do have a couple projects that have been going on, mostly with our bridges. You know, Manji River Road bridge project just completed. We did notice the completion of that. Also, we're working on French Gulch Bridge and Lang Creek Bridge. The RSSA project, that project was put on hold for the time being, but I want everyone to know that there is a lot of work happening behind the scenes with some of the redesign and some of the changes that were being made to the plans for that project. That project will be coming back online, hopefully in the next month or two here. So we will see some more activity with that. And then with regards to the county's making an effort to do our public works CIP update. So we'll be bringing a 5-year CIP to the board at the second meeting in April. And we'll have our 5-year CIP programmed out for the next 5 years and seeking board approval on that and identifying projects and many of the things that we'll be partnering with the COG on moving forward. So that should be a good item.
Looks like Scott's there.
Scott's
Scott's
just
there.
Oh,
And then, again, just general items, you know, we're in a winter storm mode right now for our maintenance crews with the rain and the snow. So a lot of our attention and efforts are on keeping the roads cleared and taken care of. So if you have any issues or concerns out there, please let us know. Thank you. Questions? Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. Looking at the weather forecast for the rest of March, including the rest of this week and next week, with their forecasting rain on and off, and it could be quite a bit of rain. Do we have any idea with the projected date we're going to start back up construction on the wagon trail?
Yeah, so we just came out of winter suspension this week.
Yeah,
So
we
the
did.
third was coming out of that. So they have started to mobilize some equipment,
Oh,
but
they
with the
have.
weather, they haven't really been able to do some work.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, weather pending, they'll be out there taking care of things. But for the time being, you know, the contractor continues to monitor the site, make sure that there's no issues of flooding or things being washed out. So that's the good thing about them being out of winter suspension. There'll be a lot more activity out there, keeping track of what's happening with the project and what the weather impacts are. So hopefully that should stay ahead of the game with any weather delays.
But even so, if we do have quite a bit of rain in the next 2 weeks, they'll need at least a week for it to dry out before, or even maybe more, depending on how wet it is.
That's right.
Before they can
Yeah.
get equipment back out there to start construction,
Right.
other than the wall, finishing that off, grading and everything else.
Yeah.
8,000 square yards that just showed up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the more weather days we have, the more time it takes for the project to dry out and get to a point where they can start activity again. So,
So it could be the worst case, mid-April, that we start back up? And that would throw the schedule off?
yeah. Yeah, you know, and you know, we get an updated schedule weekly from the contractor, so they'll build in those working days and the impacts to, the weather days and the impacts to the project schedule. So we'll get updated schedules as we go. We're long-range forecast shows us being done, you know, probably November, December with the project.
September,
Yeah,
so that's what my point was, next point was, that could move to October possibly, depending on the weather here or now. And
Yeah.
going into even April, if we have a couple of days of drenching rain that holds them off.
yeah, and there could be a number of things, you know, weather or if they have other, you know, things they come across on the project that may trigger the delay. But for now, we'll continue to monitor the schedule and do what we can to keep things on track. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the board for Micah? Hi, Scott.
Sorry, you want to recap what we voted on you to do?
I'm going out here, thanks.
Were you able to get on with your computer? Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. We had a power outage before the meeting got started, so you're not that far behind. We started late. Yeah. Okay, okay, we will move on next to item number 7, which is the minute order approving fiscal year 25-26 draft operations budget. I will hand it over to the executive director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item is the fiscal year 2025-26 draft operations budget. If you would like to turn to page 18, this is a breakdown of the budget by line item. The draft budget totals $677,000. It reflects an increase of $15,000 from the previous fiscal year 24-25. This increase is attributed to salaries and benefits. If you like to take a look at line item 5001, this is this total amount reflects 4 full-time positions, including annual merit increases for 25-26. And then line item 5055, there was an increase of approximately $5,000 increase to health insurance. And then we had a decrease in line item 5257. This difference is last year we increased the line item because we were implementing the Acela agenda software program. And this was increased for our transition and migration. So for 25-26, that will be decreasing because our migration and implementation should be complete. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions from the board? Gary?
Yeah, I just want to point out a good point, that we did have some reductions,
Yes.
and we did in vision and dental, so, hey,
Yep.
about $2,000, so, yeah,
Yeah, so far.
that's all I had.
Any other? Is there any public comment? Seeing none and none online, bring it back to the board. Is there a motion to approve item number 7?
I'll move it.
Moved by
I'll
Gary.
second.
Pat, second by Pat, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nay? 7-0. Keeping me on my toes with counting numbers tonight. Okay, we'll move on to item number 8, which is the resolution number fiscal year 25-21, approving the fiscal 2025-26 draft overall work program and planning. At this time, I'll turn it back over to Executive Director, and we do have handouts
Yep.
coming down.
Thank you,
the way.
Madam Chair. So if you'd like to look at the funding chart on page 42 of your packet, and then the handout that we're handing out is last year's overall work program. So if you wanted to compare last year's to the draft, you had it in front of you. This item is the fiscal year 25-26 draft overall work program. It totals $1.4 million, which is a decrease of approximately $175,000. This draft reflects estimates. As the council is aware, we usually bring back a final in June. And then after we have year-end closing, we bring back amendment number 1 in September or October, which reflects actuals. I did want to point out at the top of the overall work program chart, the revenue is reflected along the top by funding source. And the rural planning assistance, we usually receive an allocation of $230,000. This year is a one-time increase of approximately $85,000. So we are budgeting $315,000 under this planning assistance. Work element number 5, which is planning, programming, and monitoring for state and federal programs, was increased by $35,000. We will be developing our RTIP, or Regional Transportation Improvement Program, this year. CTC staff will release guidelines and estimates for our region in July or August. I will be bringing this information back to the council so we can start working on programming that allocation. Work element number 8 is the RTP update. It is due to Caltrans this October. We will be presenting to the council a presentation on existing conditions in April, and we will also start working with city and county staff to start going over their project lists. I think we have set aside time for both city and county to have individual meetings, so it'll give them the opportunity to go over their previous project list and any anticipated development and their new project lists. Work element number 12 is the short-range transit plan. This is a 5-year plan. It'll be assessing service from 2025 through 2030. This will identify and analyze our current service, and it'll also look at community needs and if we need to develop additional services. But with this climate and federal funding, as you're aware, we use a good chunk of federal funding to fund our transit service. So we may be looking at service cuts. So it's kind of a good timing that we're going through the short-range transit plan. And once we have more of a clearer idea on federal funding, we'll bring that information back to the council. Work element number 14 is the Regional Greenhouse Gas Reduction Plan. This is phase 2. As most of the council is aware, we completed phase 1 last year, and now city and county have requested funding to work through their environmental documents. So we have programmed $40,000 and $45,000 both for city and county staff. The city and county, they will be going through their own procurement processes. They will secure their own consultant, and then COG will reimburse them for those activities. And then we have work element number 15, which is the Safe Streets and Roads for All project. It's moving forward. We've received an update from the county. They went through a procurement process. They're looking at approving a contract with a consultant. And again, this is match funding to the grant that they received. And the $140,000 of match funds is for both the city and county's projects. Sorry. If the council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Are there any questions from the council? I have a question.
Sure.
You said something earlier in your presentation about going over additional project lists. What would that mean? And I'm asking because I'm concerned of the product delivery of the jurisdiction. So why would is this additional project we would be considering, or is this two separate things?
Two separate things.
Okay.
So your RTP, or your regional transportation plan, if you want to be eligible for funding, you put every project that you think possible that you may be doing in the next 5 years in the plan, so that it's eligible for funding. And one example is there's ATP projects, bike and ped projects, pedestrian projects in the RTP. And so when bike and pedestrian funding comes up, you know how we set aside 2%. If one of the jurisdictions wanted to apply for that funding, the project that they would want to complete has to be in the RTP. So this is a process that we go through every 5 years to identify projects, and you want to make sure any anticipated development or any projects that you have from the previous RTP update are in the plan.
Thank you for clarifying that. Plus, it probably was helpful for some of the new individuals. So, any other questions from board members or need clarification on that presentation? Nope, seeing none? Okay, are there any public comments on this item? Seeing none in the room, none online, I'll bring it back to the board. Is there a motion to approve this resolution? Moved by Tim, is there a second? Second by Trevor, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, passes 7-0.
I have a question. Susan, are you picking up all of the motions and the seconds? Even though the microphones aren't on, you can,
Well, it's just. since
I
there's
just
no-
want to make sure, because they're not turning on microphones, and usually you're screaming at me to turn my microphone on. So.
I have just given up during the votes, that's what's happening. But it would be more preferred if you would turn them on.
It was a nice way of telling them. That.
You good? Good? Okay. We'll move on to item number 9, which is a minute order appointing an ad hoc committee to negotiate with the COG executive director. So this is my item, and Monica is online to help walk me through this in case I top this up. At the executive management meeting that Tim and I are on, the executive director asked if we could open up the negotiations for her contract. It's been 3 years. Yes, time has flown by. We have not done this in the past year that since her contract has been signed, and it is time to work on that. So with that, in the past, we have always had a standing group, which has been Tim and Gay, and then a city member. And we need to select if we want to keep that same the same group and figure out who on the city will represent, or if there's a new group of individuals that wish to participate. But for those of you that are new, it is one city, one county, one public member is typically how we have been doing the ad hoc negotiation team with the executive director over the past couple of years. So with that, I will open it up to, well, let me back up. Monica, did I miss anything?
Nope, that was perfect.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so with that, I will open it up to the board for comment. So just because I said that doesn't mean that it's up for this entire
What's
discussion.
the time commitment on this? Does it usually just take a few? Does it usually just take a few? Is it a few meetings or what is it?
Yes, the group would contact me and ask to meet, and then we would meet, and then the group would
Meet
report,
separately.
the ad hoc committee would report back to the council in a closed session.
Okay, gotcha.
I think in the past, it's been no more than 2 meetings.
Yeah.
Offline, outside of this board room. So,
Scott, I can sit on that if you are good with that.
okay. Okay, so Tim and Gary are still good, and we have Caroline stepping up to replace the city seat.
It
So
was
with,
Alvin last time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
It
long?
was Alvin last time.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so is there any public comment on that? None? Okay, coming back, is there a motion from the board on approving this ad hoc?
I'll move that.
Okay, is there a second?
All second.
Okay, moved by Scott, second by Trevor, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes 7-0. So, you guys will communicate outside of this boardroom, and then please include Monica in your communications. That way we can make sure we're not violating any processes as we go through this, and then you guys will schedule a meeting with Melissa. Just a reminder, we can't discuss any of that in open session until this process has gone through. So,
But we can do what we've always done.
Mike,
Keep an eye on the COG building, because when we get an agreement, white smoke goes up.
Oh my gosh. Conclave. Oh my gosh.
okay, thank you for that. We will move on to the next agenda item, which is council reports. So I will start with Tim.
I have nothing to report.
Hey, Trevor.
I have nothing to report.
Scott.
No report.
Pat.
No report.
Gay. Sorry, Gay.
No report.
I have something to report. So the update from the park yesterday is that it was like 50 trucks in the Utica Park, and they were working so hard in every facet of the park because we're under this deadline to try to open by April 2nd. So so everything's moving along fabulously, and so that's all I have to report.
I have one update. For those of you that remember, I was appointed to the BPAC committee, which is part of Caltrans District 10. So there's a group of us. I forget how many members there are. There's 6, I think, 6 or 7. And there's Alpine County, Calaveras County, and then down in the Central Valley. So all of the jurisdictions, not every jurisdiction has a elected, but anyways, last week was it? We found out that Caltrans will grant up in the Murphy's area along Pennsylvania Gulch with the elementary school, the Hawk Grant project, which has been an issue for a couple years. There's been accidents. A kid got hit a couple years ago. And so through the BPAC, the community, the school district, along with representatives from that community have been advocating to get this. And the county put in the application, and they'll be going forward with that. So that is a big highlight. And that's just something that is happening outside of this room, but Caltrans is committed to improving that and making it safer up there by the elementary school. So that's an awesome route to get something done. And then I think, yeah, that's it. Okay, sorry. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to staff report. So, Erin, you're up.
No report.
And
Nothing to report.
Melissa.
Nothing to report.
Okay, so with that, we will adjourn, and the next meeting is April 2nd, 2025, here in this room. So we will start the next meeting. So we are now in the CTA, and we'll start with the consent agenda. There are multiple consent agenda items. Is there any board member that wishes to pull an item off consent? Seeing none, any public? No public comment. Bring it back to the board. Is there a motion to approve consent?
I'll second.
Scott, second by Caroline. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Passes 7-0. We'll move on to the regular agenda. First up is public comment. Is there any public comment for any items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 7, which is the minute order approving the fiscal year 2025-26 draft operation budget, and I will turn it over to the executive director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you want to look at page 20 of your packet, this item is the fiscal year 25-26 draft operations budget. This budget totals $2.9 million, a decrease of $670,000 from fiscal year 24-25. This amount is attributed to the capital assets. We purchased 3 Ford buses last year and 1 Toyota van. So we I'm sure the board remembers, we were in a holding pattern and waiting for all of these vehicles, and we received them all in 1 year. The other largest decrease is line item 4468. This is a decrease of $942,000. We last year had budgeted the contract for design with Aspen Street Architects. So that contract was funded. So I don't want to re-budget. So down below where it says fund balance, this amount is the amount on the contract and is in the fund balance. And then you'll see line item 5701, that's the capital assets. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. This is the draft. We'll be bringing back a final in June.
Are there any questions? None? Okay, is there any public comment? Seeing none online, I'll bring it back to the board. Is there a motion to approve item number 7?
So moved.
Moved by Pat, second by Tim, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, 7-0. We'll move on to item number 8. She's not here this evening, so we will skip down to item number 9, which is staff report. Is there any staff member that wishes to comment? Erin!
I just wanted to point out that you guys all saw next to your seats the Saturday Hopper brochure that kicks off on Irish Day weekend, March 15th. We've already gotten some email requests for passes and reserving rides for the Arnold extension, so we're very excited. And we're just hoping to do a big push for our Saturday Hopper this year. And I just thought I'd bring that to your attention.
Thank you. Are there any questions on that? Seeing none, we're adjourned for the evening, and we will be back on April 2nd, right here in this room at 5:30. Thank you, everyone.